An 11-year-old girl walks into ballet class one day, and you can just see it in the way her eyes lit up in that room that she has never felt more at home before. The pink studio surrounded by mirrors and wooden bars was all she ever thought of. When she wakes up, when she eats, when she goes to school, even before she goes to bed. To her, ballet was everything. And then it was nothing. She was in the studio preparing herself to do some exercises. And as she stood up straight in her position, waiting for the music to play, her teacher walks up to her and says 3 words she will never forget. "You are fat." How can something I showed so much love for teach me so much hate? That's a question I've been asking myself for years, and I've always seemed to blame my body image issues on ballet. Oh, ballet ruined my body image, I would say. But now that I'm older, I've realized maybe it's not ballet that changed the way I feel about myself. Maybe, just maybe, it's something more familiar to all of us, yet more treacherous and toxic than we think it is. Diet culture. Diet culture is everywhere, whether it be in advertisements for clothing brands, calorie labels on food packages, magazine covers promoting different diet regimens, or fitness influencers on Instagram. Its pervasiveness has allowed it to evolve into a belief system of its own, virtually transforming the way we see food and our bodies. Now, don't be fooled just because you hear the word diet in diet culture. It's easy to think that diet culture is all about health, well-being, self-care, and all of that positive stuff. But it's not. Today, I'm going to tell you why diet culture is deadlier than we think it is, and how we can reframe our view around it to create a society separate from its harm. Diet culture is sneaky. It manifests differently for different people. Usually, it manifests itself as behaviors, like labeling foods as good or bad, demonizing carbs, or obsessing over how many calories we eat and burn. And this is the first problem with diet culture. Food is depicted as the enemy. The irony of food is it builds and destroys our body. It can heal or give you disease. It is both a reward and a burden. And with diet culture depicting food as the enemy by glorifying weight loss and undereating, it does the latter. Food is essential for our survival, but diet culture pressures us to avoid eating at all. Undereating has very complex consequences. Aside from depleting our physical strength, it creates a mental obsession over food, which can turn so mentally debilitating that it leads to eating disorders and other severe cases of mental illness. The National Institute of Mental Health in the United States even reported that 42% of people who struggle with anorexia, which involves undereating as one of its major symptoms, experiences comorbid depression. The only way we can eradicate the stigma around food created by diet culture is by removing the numerical value we place on it. Food is more than just calories. Food is more than just something that can change the number on the scale. Food is fuel. Food is strength. Food creates memories. Food is happiness. Just because diet culture tells you that food is the enemy, it doesn't mean it actually is. The second problem with diet culture is its message that thinness is healthy. The author of Anti-Diet and host of Food Psych podcast, Christy Harrison, defines diet culture as a belief system that worships thinness and equates it to health and moral virtue. This is problematic because, first, health is not dependent on thinness. Different people with different body shapes and sizes can also be healthy. And most of the time, people with bigger body sizes are much healthier and stronger. take this as an example. The body mass index, or BMI, is supposed to give a measure of a person's fat content. What is considered to be a healthy and normal BMI is around the 18.5 to 25 range. But a 6 feet tall Olympic 100-meter sprinter weighing 90 kilograms or 200 pounds can have the BMI of 26, and for that reason only is considered unhealthy or overweight. Second, health encompasses more than just one aspect. We have to consider the mental, emotional, social, spiritual, and intellectual aspect of it as well. Determining a person's health based on the size of their body will not accurately reflect how healthy they are. Diet culture distorts the view we have of food and ourselves, and suddenly the pursuit of thinness becomes everything, even if that means hurting our own bodies. We have to reframe our views on diet culture and on what health means. Do you remember how I said diet culture manifests itself differently for different people? What if I told you that diet culture is in Barbie's thigh gap and 18-inch waist, or fitness influencers on Instagram telling you to eat 1,000 calories a day when that is the recommended calorie intake for a toddler? Kim Kardashian publicly admitting that she had to lose 7 kilograms in 3 weeks just to fit into a dress, or selling one-size-fits-all clothing, but then marketing your brand as a skinny girl brand. Would you believe it if I said diet culture can look like complimenting a person for losing weight, even though you don't know why they lost it, ignoring hunger cues because it's not the right time to eat yet, or body checking in mirrors and reflective surfaces? Diet culture is so normalized that we don't recognize it in its most discrete forms. Consequently, we overlook its harm. This is the third of many problems with diet culture. Its discreteness is what allows it to prevail. It's unfortunate that social media today is reinforcing that. Can I get a show of hands? Who here has one social media account? Who here has 2? 3? More than 3? Well, exactly my point. In a growingly digitalized world, social media is one of the most influential things driving our lives. In the last 3 days of 2022 alone, my iPhone tracked that I had spent around 10 hours and 44 minutes on socials, which I think is absolutely ludicrous. We've succumbed to the influence of the media, and it has distorted the view we have of ourselves. The media feeds us with pictures of skinny waists and big muscles and abs and all of that. When we spend a lot of time on social media, we soak in all of that content and grow accustomed to what's there. We are led to believe that thinness is normal, and consequently, we create an inaccurate standard of what we think is acceptable and what is not. Seeing thousands of likes and comments on posts promoting thinness can really influence the way we feel about ourselves. We associate thinness with love and social validation, which will only lead us to further internalize the message that thinness is success, thinness is happiness, thinness is love, thinness is everything. But social media is a place where people are constantly presenting themselves in the best light. It's never the full picture. We don't see the immense struggles people face. Hair falling out, extreme hunger, feeling cold, not being able to focus, feelings of fatigue, and for women, that might mean losing their menstrual cycle. These are the realities of succumbing to diet culture that we don't see on social media. It's never what we think it is. You see, diet culture is more dangerous than we think it is. We need to reframe the view on diet culture to stop the prevalence of its toxicity. And the first step is to change our mindsets. Mindsets are superpowers. To show you how powerful they are, I would like to give a real-life example of what is happening in society today. Some of us might have heard of the term hourglass body or hourglass figure before. If not, that's okay, I will explain it to you. An hourglass body is a female body type that is highly praised by diet culture. It means having broad shoulders, wide hips, but a small and cinched waist that gives the illusion of an hourglass. It is the body to die for. But take a look at this picture of a woman from around the 1400s to 1700s. Clearly, she does not have an hourglass figure. She is not what you would consider thin or small. In fact, she's quite the opposite. She has a much rounder and fuller figure. Interestingly, though, her body was considered to have superior indications of beauty in the 15th and 16th century. Here's another example. A lot of men today want to be tall and lean, want to have big muscles, broad shoulders, abs, almost like an upside-down Dorito. But during the pandemic, the dad bod has been making a return. It has been popularized by famous celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio and Chris Pratt. A survey was even carried out that around 75% of singles in the United States found the dad bod attractive. Do you see the pattern in these two examples? Or do you see what's going on? Ideal body types have changed significantly over the years. Thin, small, and lean was not always what was considered to be attractive or considered to be the best. We just happen to be living in a time where the body of people's dreams is one that is small and thin. Societal dynamics have changed so much as people's minds change with time. If we can create a culture of exclusivity with beauty through the way we think about certain body types, then we can create a culture of inclusivity by dismissing those thoughts and learning to accept all body types. In doing so, we reject the values diet culture enforces on us. Also, because of diet culture, our mindset as a society for so long has been that thinness is attractive. We've always based our worth off of the number on the scale or how small our clothing sizes are, when our worth is so much more than that. Our worth comes from our existence as human beings, divine entities brought into this world with the greater purpose of bringing life. Let us stop wasting our life's purpose on caring too much about food and our bodies. Remember all of the things our bodies have done for us. Our bodies are instruments that have allowed us to walk, to see, to smell, to taste, to feel, to live. Is it really worth it to hurt or neglect our bodies just because diet culture tells us to? You cannot find anything else quite like a human's body. Just as powerful as mindsets are words, and we can use them to our advantage to reframe the view on diet culture. Usually when I go to family reunions and meet up with relatives I've not met in a long time, the first thing they would say to me is, "Did you get skinnier?" or "Did you get fatter?" And I would be like, "Wow, is that really the first thing you want to say to me? Don't you want to ask how I'm feeling or how I've been?" Let us move away from making appearance-based comments that make people think their worth depends on the size of their body. Instead, we can make comments like, "I love your energy. You are so fun to be around," or "I love your smile." Always be kind with your words. And lastly, speak up. Toxic diet culture is so common everywhere that we may feel afraid to speak against it. It's hard to talk about something that not everyone will agree on. But unless we start speaking about it, nothing will change. Speak up and you'll see that you were never alone. Many others are willing to help you. Remember, we are never expected to go through this alone. Toxic diet culture has managed to seep its way into every part of our lives and into our minds, tainting and distorting the perceptions we have of ourselves. It is not a problem that we can tackle alone. Creating a world of inclusivity, of kindness, of love, requires an effort from all of us to shift our mindsets and to advocate for ourselves. Know that our appearance is not a measure of our worth, and that no matter what you look like, you are beautiful in your own way. Thank you.